let us discuss about the basic approaches that we use in the business intelligence. So let us take a closer look at the approaches to business intelligence as a service. Business intelligence as a service based on the internal data. Relying solely on the data retrieved from the company's system. This approach provides insight into the company's business processes, customers, performances, and more. See, here we are talking about business intelligence as a service based only on the internal data. So that is one approach that we can use to utilize this business intelligence as a service. Here we are depending entirely on to the internal data of the organization. If we are talking about a supermarket, the customer, they enter the supermarket, they purchase a product, whatever they require, they make transaction, they make the payment of it. So all those transactions will be stored into the database of the organization and they move out. The customers, they come out. So whatever payments are being done, whatever purchases they have made, they will be all stored into the database of the various computer systems which are allocated there. So these databases, they can be accessed to retrieve any information about the purchases of the customer. They provide the internal data about the various purchasing habits of the customers. So when we are using business intelligence as a service based on the internal data, so at that point of time we are relying solely on the data which is inside the company's databases. However, there is a significant drawback in getting insight derived from the internal data solely. The company, it is limited to their internal wisdom and lacks the external data for sound comparison. Since to analyze the data, we are just focusing on the internal databases of the company. That means we are not analyzing the market trends. We are not comparing our products with the products of the competitive organization. We are just relying on whatever information we have into the databases of our company related to our product, related to our customers. So in that case, what will happen? We might be able to retain our current customer, but will we be able to regain new customers? No, because we are just relying on the internal data. So that is one form of business intelligence which can be used. What are the advantages of using the internal data? Obviously, the timing of computing the data, it will decrease because we have limited data, we know the products, we know our limited customer, and we can analyze and get the reports related to those customers. We have limited data and we have data which is of higher quality because our people within the organization, they also know about the product details, about the customers, so they can very easily create quality data related to that. We have a proper data sources where the data is saved and they are in proper format, so they can be very easily retrieved and utilized for the benefits of the organization. So that is one perspective of looking into business intelligence as a service based on the internal data. It will be more efficient when we are just relying on to our internal data. Now, let us talk about the second perspective, which is business intelligence as a service based on the external data. Now, this approach, it is frequently used to run the strategic market analysis or the social media analytics. See, today, our world, it is not just limited to our room or our house. We are being explored to the internet all the time, where we can connect to whole of the world in just one click. We can enter our data, we can send reviews related to any product, anything onto the internet. And within a few milliseconds, it will be shared with so many users who are using the internet. So, today is the era of making use of this kind of external data to make better policies, to make better decisions for our company. So, when we talk about business intelligence as a service based on the external data, so this approach, it is frequently used to run the strategic market analysis or the social media analytics. So, that will definitely provide us with all the advantages. Since we can make comparison with our competitors very easily if we are accessing the external data, we can very easily get the reviews related to our product, that this particular people who have shared their reviews on social media related to our product. Now, what have they liked? It can be improved on. What have they not liked? So we can work on the improvisation of our company's product. So in that way, if we retrieve the external data, it is going to be very beneficial for the growth of the company. The biggest challenge while working with the external data, it is ensuring the data quality, as it usually comes from multiple disintegrated data sources, and so it can contain errors and discrepancies. Now we have understood that retrieving the data from external sources, it may be going to be beneficial for our organization, for the growth of our organization. But since this data, now it is being stored on the social media in some other format, it is being stored into some other databases into some other format. So the biggest challenge when we want to analyze this external data, the biggest challenge, it comes from these disintegrated data sources. Since every person, every data analyst, we have so many computer languages, we have so many databases, we have so many data sources. So every person, every data analyst, he uses his own format to store the data. So there are more chances of having discrepancies or errors when we combine this whole set of data together. So the data quality, that is to be maintained, and that is to be worked on a lot when we are trying to assess the external data. So one was internal data, other is external data. Today we are using hybrid approach, using the data from both inside and outside. A company can get the broadest picture that encompasses the internal decisions and the market perspective. Now, this particular hybrid approach, where we are using the internal data for the analysis, for creating the reports, and we are making use of the external data too. So that form of approach, that is known as a hybrid approach, where we are using both the perspective. We are using the perspective of various products as per our competitors. We are also utilizing the data according to our requirement, according to the products we have built, our people have built, the people of the organization have worked on. So hybrid approaches, when we are using the data from the inside as well as outside, and we are utilizing it in a better way to make more and more benefits for the organization. So business intelligence as a service, it can be used in the hybrid approach too. Now, next is building the ad hoc queries. Ad hoc is generating when something is required, when something is necessary. It is not something which is timely occurring. It is something which will occur, which will be generated on the requirement as per the necessity. So talking about ad hoc analysis. Ad hoc analysis is a business intelligence process which is designed to answer a specific business question by using the company's data from various resources. That means now we are building the ad hoc queries. We are doing this ad hoc analysis to answer a specific business question by using the company data from various sources. A report, it helps the stakeholder assess an event and formulate the actionable next step. With ad hoc analysis, users, they can extract the insight they need to make better business decisions without having to involve the IT department. Typically, ad hoc report, it is more visual than a standard data report, making it easy for the non-technical audience to understand and utilize. So when we are talking about ad hoc analysis, that means it is not a thing which is generated by the technical persons. It is nothing which will be generated on the timely basis. It is something which will be generated as per the requirement. The users, they can extract the insight they need without having to involve the IT department. An ad hoc report, it is more usual than the standard data report, because so that it becomes more easier for the non-technical audience too. Ad hoc analysis, it is performed by the business users as needed on the basis to address the data analysis which needs not to be met by the regular reporting. That means these are not the reports which are generated regularly on regular basis. This ad hoc analysis, ad hoc queries, they are generated instantly when required. There is no proper format of these queries. There is no proper reporting in the form in which these queries will be answered. So they can be very well utilized even by the non-technical person. So ad hoc analysis, it is a business intelligence process which is designed to answer a specific question by using the company's data. And it is generated instantly when required. So that form of query, that is known as ad hoc query. Building on-demand self-service reports. Now here we are talking about on-demand and self-service reports. Since we have seen that whatever data it is stored into our business intelligence application into various data sources, they have to be accessed and they have to be presented in the form of reports for the analysis of data. Now here we are talking about on-demand and self-service report. So let us understand these terms first of all. Self-service reporting. Self-service reporting, it is an analytics paradigm which places the emphasis for data analysis and report building on individual users instead of highly trained statisticians or data scientists. Self-service reporting, that means the people, they are getting served themselves by generating various reports on the data. So they are generating their reports as per their requirement. So that is why it is known as self-service reporting. There are not highly technical people, not data scientists who are sitting and helping them build the report. These reports, they are built by the individual users themselves. That is why we are calling here self-service reports. Now, understanding the term on-demand self-service. On-demand self-service, it means that a consumer, he can request and receive access to the service offering without an administrator or some sort of support staff having to fulfill the request manually. As their need arises, as the need of the user arises, he can generate the report of the data as per his requirement. So the interface, the business intelligence interface, it should be built in such a format so that any kind of person, any kind of user can generate the on-demand self-service report for himself and can do the analysis of the data related to the organization. The request, it processes and the fulfillment processes, they are all automated into that. That means whatever request has to be processed and the fulfillment of those. That means when we are getting answer to the questions that we have generated, when we are getting answers in the form of reports, they are all automated. So this offers the advantage for both the provider and the consumer of the service. since we do not have to keep our technical staff engaged for the users to ask the queries to get the report generated. We are providing the facility of on-demand self-service reports to them so that whatever requirement they have, any kind of query they can raise, and depending on their demands, and so they can be generated with the self-service report. That means whatever query they have on demand, on their requirement, they can generate that query and they will be getting the output in the form of report. So the non-technical, the end users, they are utilizing this facility to gain access to the data. Organization today, they implement the self-service business intelligence capabilities to make it easier for the employees, from executives to the frontline workers, to get useful business insight from the data collected in our business intelligence systems. So today, the organization, they are providing the self-service business intelligence capabilities, since it would help the people, even all kind of frontline workers, all the executive, in generating the reports as per their requirement, as per their necessity. So we do not have to keep our technical staff engaged for the purpose of providing answers to the people. Whatever queries they have, they can themselves generate it and they can get answers to them in the form of report. So today, all the organization, they are implementing this self-service business intelligence capabilities so that even the time of the people can be saved, even the engagement of not required people can be avoided. So because of this, today we are implementing these self-service business intelligence capabilities. The primary goal, it is to derive more informed decision making that results in positive business outcomes such as increased efficiency, better customer satisfaction, and higher revenue and profit. So ultimately, what does an organization want? Any organization, it wants to increase its revenue, it wants to increase its profits, it wants to work efficiently. So if we are providing our analysis of data in such a format so that any person, he can access the data and he can work on that data depending on the analysis obtained and work for the making better strategic plans for the organization. So it is definitely going to increase our efficiency. It is definitely going to make better profits for the organization. So that is why today the primary goal of all sort of business intelligence application, it is to provide these on-demand self-service reports which can be utilized, which can be generated as per the requirement, and the people, whether they are technical, whether they are non-technical, any kind of end user, they can make use of these reports and work for the betterment of the organization. Now, let us talk about the enhancing and modifying. Effective business intelligence reporting or the user interface, it starts with a set of proven best practices. How can we enhance? How can we modify our reporting set or our user interface in such a format so that they can be utilized in a more effective way? So there are few of the practices that should be followed in a proper format for the purpose of enhancement and modification. The very first thing that should be done for making our business intelligence reporting and user interface more effective, the very first thing is identify your audience and their needs. Define in advance of any project or program all business intelligence reporting requirement for different stakeholders. That means if we are thinking of building a business intelligence application, so we should be knowing in advance who are our audience. Audience means who are going to be the users of this applications. Secondly, on whose data this all application depends. That means the customers of the organization. So all these definitions, they should be done in advance. If they are done in advance, so all the business intelligence reporting requirement for the different stakeholders, it can be done effectively. So the very first need, the very first requirement to enhance our business intelligence application, the reporting of that or the user interface, is to identify your audience and to understand their needs. We can use various key performance indicators, examples, to help guide the teams in selecting the most impactful key performance indicators. Key performance indicators will provide us the various indicators which will help us to improve the performance of the organizations. That means we can analyze the various parameters using various key parameters indicators example. So the very first requirement is to identify your audience and their needs so that our business intelligence reporting and interfaces, it can be done in a well-formed way. If we know who are going to be our users, who are going to be our customers, so we can build our application, we can provide our reporting tools, we can use the data sources according to that. So the very first need is to identify your audience and their needs. Second is prep your data. That means turn the raw data into clean, business-ready information via data replication, via ingestion and transformation to combine the different types of data into a standardized format, stored in a repository like the data lake or the data warehouse. That means you have to prepare your data. Like we've seen today, business intelligence, it is depending not only on the internal data, it is dependent on the external data too. Today, we are not just relying on the data which is into our premises of the organization. We have to understand, we have to analyze the external data too. So, since there's a lot of data to study, so the analysis on the data can be done in an effective way only and only when this data is stored in a proper format. Since the data which is in external, the people, they might be using it into different formats. So we need to gather all this data, store it in a proper format, and then we need to transform this data into a proper standardized format. From that standardized format, the data analysis can be done effectively. So this data we have to store in a proper repository, which can be any data warehouse, which can be any data lake. And once this data, it is stored in a proper clean format. That means it has been converted from raw data into the organized data. Now we can do the analysis onto this data. So the second requirement for enhancing and modifying is prep your data. Third, be flexible and scalable. Make sure that you have a flexible deployment and scalable multi-cloud architecture, so that the user, they can access and share the data inside between on-premises and cloud development, and they develop higher trust standards. That means when you are using these business intelligence facilities, they should be utilized in a flexible format. We should have a flexible deployment of our structure of our data. It should be scalable. Since we have a lot of data, so we want our application to be in such a format. That is the way they are scalable. That means we can increase the requirement as the necessity arrives. We need to build multi-cloud architecture. We need to keep various servers, various remote servers have to be analyzed. And we have to keep our formats that we are designing into a flexible format, so that we can make proper usage of our data. So for the enhancement and the better modification of our data, we need to have our data more flexible and more scalable. So this is the third requirement which we should do for enhancement and modification of our data. Next is govern your data. Traditional business intelligence tools, they require the user to go through the IT team to set up the permission. Modern business intelligence tool, They provide a governed data catalog which profiles and documents every data source and defines who can take which action on which data. See, the data of the organization, it is lot and lot. There's a lot of data in the organization. And depending on the data, the analysis has to be done. So everything, each and everything related to these reports, related to these business intelligence tools, it is entirely dependent on the data. So we should have a proper format, proper way to govern our data. Each and every data, it should not be accessible to all the people of the organization. We have to govern our data in such a way so that no unauthorized temperaments can be done onto our data. No unauthorized users can gain access to all the data. The reports will be provided to him. The answers to the queries will be provided to the users using all the data. But that particular data, it should not be accessible to all the users. So the modern business intelligence tools today, they provide a governed data catalog which profiles and documents every data source and defines who can take which action on the data. It is already defined to the business intelligence tool that if you get to receive some data, if you try to make some changes into the price of the product, so all the person of the organization should not have the authority to do this. These can be done by the high-end managers. These can be done by the head of the company. So these kind of changes, or there's a proper marketing person who has been assigned with this responsibility. So for the enhancement and the modification, the one important thing is to govern your data into a proper format. Then next is tell your data story. That means learn how to produce compelling visualization and design dashboard so you can highlight important information and use visual cues to tell your data story into an engaging way. Tell your data story. Whatever analysis of your data you have done, you have to use various visualization tools to represent your data into a proper format. So that is another thing that is very much required to tell your data story into a proper engaging way so that it can be understood by various people. Suppose there is a person, there is a manager in the organization who has taken a decision of increasing the price of the product. So will the people of the organization will agree to it like that only? No. They want to first of all understand the various reasons behind taking such a decision. So you have to tell your data story with the help of various visualization tools, with the help of various design dashboard, so that you can represent the analysis that you have done. So the next thing is for the enhancement and modification is to create your data story. Next is iterate and evolve. Be willing to adapt your business intelligence reporting process to advances in technology and the change in the business needs. That means we should be willing to adapt to new procedures, to adapt to new processes. We need to iterate. Iterate means go back. Not that once we have decided, we have gathered the data, we have designed the analysis tools, we have used the various tools and you keep on utilizing them forever and ever. No, we need to iterate the process. For the growth of the organization, what do we require? We need to iterate. We need to work on the betterment of the various steps. So the next thing would be for the enhancement is to iterate and then evolve. The last one is cultivate data literacy. Leverage the data literacy training and tools to help your organization become more data driven. That means we have to do the data literacy training so that the data, it can be utilized in a proper format. We should train the people, the person who are working with us in the organization with the various data literacy training and tools so that they can analyze the data in a proper format. So we need to cultivate various data literacy training and tools. We need to make use of them so that the analysis on the data can be done in a better and better way. So these are the various ways of enhancing and modifying our business intelligence reporting tools, business intelligence user interfaces, so that the analysis can be done and better strategic decisions for the organization, they can be taken for the betterment of the organization.